So excuse me, we're live? Okay, great, thank you. Welcome everybody. At this time, we will recall to order the meeting of the Suffern Central Board of Education for Tuesday, June 6, 2023. Let the record reflect all board members are present. Please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. .08 minutes of the regular meeting of May 16th, 2023. Do I have a motion? Is that Mr. Donnelly? Frazier? Mr. Frazier? Second? Mr. Shapiro? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those against? Any abstentions? 1.09 student report. Do we have a student report tonight? I don't see him. Oh, there he is.
Tomorrow is the Senior Subject Area Awards during school at the high school. This is when each department is tomorrow night at the Crown Plaza beginning at 6:30 p.m. Chromebook and charger return dates are as follows: Monday, June 12th, Tuesday, June 13th, and Wednesday, June 14th during unit lunch in front of the auditorium. Final exams start this Thursday and Regents exams start the 14th. The senior clapout is June 15th, and this is where all seniors will return to their respective elementary schools and get an applause throughout the halls from the current elementary school students. Senior prom is Friday the 16th at 7 p.m. at the Pearl River Hilton. The girls lacrosse team will be competing in the state semifinal on Friday at 3 p.m. at Cortland High School. Individuals on the track team who qualified will be competing in the state finals this Friday. And finally, graduation is Thursday, June 22nd. Thank you.
Thank you. 1.10, superintendent comments.
Thank you very much. As we just heard, this is the season of recognitions. We have graduations, moving up ceremonies, award ceremonies, year-end concerts, and of course, field days and Olympic days. Really an exciting time to be around Suffern Central, and if you can get around and catch a glimpse of the energy that our students and staff has, it truly is infectious. I'd like to congratulate and wish well the girls lacrosse team as they head up to Cortland. That's right. Really proud of this team. Obviously, this has been a challenging year in many aspects for the team. They have persevered, they have come together as a unit, and they are going to continue to make Suffern Central proud upstate. Also, big congratulations to our boys and girls spring track teams. They have a variety of students competition up in Middletown on Friday and Saturday as well. We wish them also much success as they continue to make us proud here at Suffern Central. Viola School turns 50 this year. Celebrate Viola, then have a 50th birthday this Friday at Viola School. So if you're available, you're in the area around 9:30 a.m., stop by and attend the ceremony. It should be a day-long, exciting experience for our students as they have a whole slew of different activities planned to celebrate a really strong history of Viola School. So we look forward to that. Of course, I'd like to congratulate all of our retirees, those who were present here this evening and those who were not able to join us here. Truly, your level of professionalism, dedication, and love of Suffern Central is infectious, and we thank you for the years and years and thousands of students that our retirees have impacted in a positive way. On the agenda this evening, I'm excited to share that we have 2 bargaining units that are going to be approved. Their next contracts are going to be approved. I want to thank the custodial unit as well as the nurses unit for truly a professional collective bargaining experience this year. Really well done. It's always nice to see that we're able to agree and settle these bargaining agreements prior to the end of the school year. So I want to thank the leadership of both of those units for a job well done, as well as Mr. Mautone and Dr. Castellane, who led the effort in the bargaining units, with the bargaining units. And finally, later this evening, I'm going to share out a concept for our elementary schools that we believe will enhance the educational experience for our Suffern Central students. I want to lower the anxiety. I've heard there's some anxious folks, whether it's on social media, maybe here in the audience. This is a discussion of a concept that our administrative team, parents, community members, staff members, and some students in Mountie Mines have been a part of. It's a concept that we believe will take the elementary school experience to the next level. It's an exciting idea. I look forward to sharing it with all of you, and I want to assure anyone who may be wondering, is there going to be a big decision that drops tonight? Absolutely not. There's nothing that this Board of Education is going to vote. The decision is to move forward in exploring this concept further. And thus concludes my superintendent.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. No? All right. No? Yes? No? Yes? No? Oh, now? Oh, there we go. All right. Nope. All right. 1.11, public participation. This is public participation on action items only. If there are any members of the public who wish to speak on our action items tonight, you can please approach the podium. Right, seeing as there are none, we will close that portion of the meeting and move to our action items this evening. So we have action items 2.01 through 2.12. I would call for a consent agenda. Is there any action items anyone wishes to pull at this time? Nope. Okay. So for action items 2.01 through 2.12, do I have a motion? Mr. Donnelly. Second? Mr. Frazier? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those against? Any abstentions? Thank you all very much. With that,
Thank you. Good evening. For those of you that I have my back to, my apologies. You're more than welcome to get up and move into the center to get a better view of the screen. So forgive me if my back is to you. Thanks for all for coming here this evening. I know that a number of you are interested in learning what this concept looks like, and I know there's always a level of anxiety that comes along with discussions like this. But I want to assure you that a lot of thought has been given to this concept. And I hope that you have some good contributions with regards to what you may see may be positive aspects of this, as well as concerns or questions you have. And at the end of this presentation, there will be a thought exchange. I'd love for all of you to get out your phones and take a picture of the QR code so you can put in your digital responses. Many of you have experienced thought exchange surveys before. You're able to enter your own thoughts anonymously, and then your thought gets sent out to everybody else in that exchange, where they get to rank how much your thought resonates with them or doesn't resonate with them. It's kind of like that Yelp review thing, right? Like, I really like what that person said, or I really disagree with what that person says. And it gives us a really good sense of what the pulse of the community is with regards to this topic. So let me go ahead and get started here. This has been something that has been talked about, my understanding, and I've been here for now a little bit less than 2 years. This is something that's been talked about for years. What do we do about our elementary school population size? We have a number of schools that are getting a little bit smaller, and maybe they're not quite as efficient or robust with regards to the experiences that we can provide for our students. What can we do to really step up our game and do something special? So I'm going to step back a few moments, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've heard, what we've heard as an administrative team about our elementary schools over the last year and a half when I've asked folks, whether it was on surveys or face-to-face with folks. I've heard things like, it's hard for my child to make new friends by the time they're in 4th or 5th grade. After all, there are only 46 students in my child's entire grade. By the time they get up to that grade level, they've exhausted all the students there. And if they're looking for new friends, they're not there in that school environment. And that was a parent that said that. A teacher said, I only get to meet with my grade level colleagues a few times per year because in 3 out of our 5 elementary schools, there were only 2 teachers at any particular grade level. And as you know, as professionals, we all enjoy and thrive and need to collaborate with our colleagues. And so there are very few opportunities as a school district that we can find to bring those colleagues together for professional development or just simply casual conversations about what's taking place. We've heard parents say, going from a school with 32 4th grade students to a middle school with it should be 5th grade students, going to a school with 32 5th grade students to a middle school with over 250 students in the 6th grade is a huge and rough transition. It's indeed the case. Suffern Middle School is a large, thriving school. Many of our schools, our elementary schools, are very small. Another parent said, why is my child's counselor only in the school building 2 days a week? Quite frankly, that's because some of the schools are so small that we can't support a full-time counselor in each of those buildings. And so when a child is in need or a child is in crisis, there's a really good chance that that counselor is in one of the other school buildings. Additionally, a parent has said, I wish my child had pre-K in the building where they were going to go to kindergarten. So to have your child go to pre-K at Viola School only to go to kindergarten then at RP Connor, why can't it be in the same building? Another parent, just because my child needs specialized services, why does she need to go to a different school? We have some very specialized special education programs. We also have a dual language program for students that want to experience elementary school in Spanish and English. But we only have those programs in one school, and we have 5 elementary schools. So if your child needs or wants something unique, you only have a 20% chance that that program is in your child's home school. A principal said to me, I wish my students had extracurricular options in our elementary school. I'd love to see a thriving student council, student newspaper, school play, maybe even some athletics in the elementary school. Quite frankly, our school is well funded, but replicating those programs 5 times over is not efficient, expensive, and because of sometimes a very small student population in the school, there aren't enough students there to really build any of those programs. And finally, a student said to me, I wish we could have a school play, when they heard that a couple of the PTAs were able to support school plays in their own larger elementary schools. So I kind of set that up to build the case of what, and many of you have heard this chatter and these comments before, to build the case of we are a wonderful school district with great elementary school experiences, but it could be better. We can do more. So what I told the board at the beginning of this year was we are going to collect data and we need some help doing that. So we partnered up with the district management group, which this district has used for quite some time with regards to strategic planning and a whole variety of other studies. And we said, can you give us a better sense of what our enrollment trends are, our demographic information is? What are parents satisfied with? What are they frustrated with? What do they feel they need? And also, what are the fears of the community? We all talk to neighbors. We all think that things are happening. And there are some fears in this community about what happens or what could potentially happen to schools that become really small. So these are all real things that we wanted to dive into much more. So the DM group went ahead and conducted a demographic survey. They solicited input, whether it was in focus groups or surveys from parents and staff members and administrators and board members. And I'm going to give you a couple little snippets of information there. My apologies if it's a little bit challenging to see. This will be published and shared with our entire school population, most likely tomorrow, as well as our staff members as well. But since the year 2013, up until the last time the state has updated the state statistics, 2021, the district in general has seen an enrollment decline of about 12%. The majority of that decline has been with our elementary school population. Not as many people are moving into our district with the intent purpose of sending their students to public school. We know that we have more and more folks who are choosing, for particularly religious reasons, to send their children to non-public schools. So we've seen our enrollment in our elementary schools decline rather significantly. And you'll notice that the decline is less in the middle school and less in the high school. Now, most people will say, well, yeah, Eric, that's because it takes time for those populations to get to the middle school and the high school. But the DM group said, yes, that's absolutely the case. And you can see that there are some declines there. But there's a really unique phenomenon that happens here at Suffern Central, which is that year over year, we end up having an increase every year in each grade level with regards to population. And I'll talk about that in a moment. But just to encompass really what our enrollment numbers look like, we have 5 elementary schools right now. 3 of our elementary schools have fewer than 300 students in them, with 2 classes for any given grade level. There are a couple of grade levels that have 3 sections in them, but 3 of our schools have less than 300 students. Our smallest has only 220 students in it. Overall, our enrollment decreases, but enrollment year over year increases. And I'll show this really, it's kind of a fancy looking graph. It's not meant to be intimidating, but I'll attempt to explain in a little bit what this really means. I don't think I have a laser pointer on. I do have a laser pointer on this. All right. So again, this will be online. You'll be able to see this information. But between the year of kindergarten and first grade, this is now since 2013, on average, we see approximately an 8.7% decrease in population between kindergarten and first grade. 8.7% of our students leave the district, or leave our public schools at least. But at the same time, on average, 11.5% is the increase in population between those grade levels. So there's a net increase in population. And year over year in each of the grade levels, you'll see an increase. So for example, especially with the grade changes, right, between grades 5 and 6, about 5.4% of our 5th graders leave going into 6th grade at some point during the year, but we get an increase of 9.1%, resulting in a net gain. So that's why the population over time is actually increasing. Teachers will often tell you, yeah, I'll start off the school year with 18 students in my classroom, and I end up with 22 by the end of the year. We're seeing those trends throughout all of the years. Interesting information. So we have this opportunity in Suffern, a great opportunity. First of all, we are fortunate to be in a community where our public believes in its public schools. We saw that at the most recent budget vote. The public came out and supported us financially. We've done some really great things. We can continue, by the way, with this status quo. So this new concept that I'm going to talk about in a minute is not to be done because we're in financial dire straits. We're not in bad shape at all, but we can provide a better, and we have the means to put those changes into place. Suffern Central School District is certainly experiencing a decline in enrollment, particularly in our elementary schools. But there are changes that are in the works at the middle school and the high school as well. Things are happening. We're looking to see how our district can continue to expand and provide better services for students. But that'll be a topic for another time. We're able to provide supports for students for our expanding demographic. So certainly we've seen that we have more and more students entering the district who are not English speakers. We have the financial and personnel to go ahead and put those services into place. We have a dual enrollment program. We have some phenomenal special education needs. We really provide phenomenal supports for our students who are economically disadvantaged. We can do really great things in this district. And our Suffern Central community demands excellence and efficiency for public and non-public students alike. If you've been to some of our board meetings, we've had members from our non-public school population come to this podium, come to Hillburn, and talk about the frustrations that they have with regards to transportation. We have a transportation audit taking place right now to see what can we do to provide more reliable basic services like transportation for folks in our non-public school community so they feel a part of the public school community. They are getting something out of the Suffern Central Public Schools. Namely for them, that's typically transportation. And we know for those of us that take advantage of the public schools, we really have high expectations. We want great programs to, not only to continue, but to actually expand and get better. So this opportunity to advance on a concept, and I will reiterate this again, this is a concept that I'm sharing with the board, that I'm sharing with all of you, and this is where we want the discussion to start. We have a concept that we believe will improve support service availability for our students. So a student who may need that special education program might not have to move to another school building. So the student who wants the dual language program might not have to go to that other building. So that student who's in need of a counselor on the day that they might be in crisis might actually have that counselor in the building that day. We have an opportunity to advance on a concept that's going to create efficiencies and opportunities. And I've spoken to staff members here. Again, we are in solid financial shape as a school district. None of this proposal is because we are facing shortfalls. That is not to say that we have money to burn and that we must be efficient, but over time, school those off days, and so our schedule has to be very rigid. And that's not just for many other staff members that we share between buildings. And streamline innovation. You have something cool that happens in one building. Right now, if we want to replicate that for all third graders, let's say, we have to do it 4 more times. We have to get 4 more principals on board, the grade level teachers. We have to make sure that we have all the equipment replicated in all 5 of the schools. That's not a good generator of innovation. This potential concept will improve that. And ultimately, all of this focuses on the needs of the students. So, what does it look like? Well, first of all, today, as I mentioned before, we have 5 K-5 elementary schools, some of which have pre-K there, but 5 K-5 schools with a population range of the smallest, which is 220 students, all the way up to about 400 students. 3 of those schools have only 2 sections per grade level, and we have split time staff, we call it. These are staff members who don't spend all of their time in one building, but are shared between 2, sometimes even 3 buildings. We have that with our counselors, our social workers, some of our instructional facilitators, our string and band teachers at the elementary school level, our literacy and math specialists, and our world language teachers. These are people that bounce between school buildings. Additional challenges. I know there's some members of the PTA leadership in the room this evening. Some of our schools have the same 5, 8 parents doing all the work. They're small PTAs because the population is small. Some of the other challenges, issues with consistent programming. If you have to go ahead and move to another section of Suffern Central and move your child to a different school, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to keep all 5 elementary schools exactly on the same page from a curricular standpoint, and that's challenging. The future concept, the proposed future concept, looks something like this. We go ahead and look at 2 pre-K through 2 schools and 2 grade 3 through 5 schools. So yes, let's just hit up the first thing that may come of some concern to folks. That means 4 school buildings, and we have currently 5 elementary school buildings. A whole other separate conversation, if we decided to move forward with exploring this concept further, would be how can we repurpose and retool that 5th elementary school? And I will honestly tell you that I don't know which school that would be. That is not the topic of tonight. But what do we do with that building to enhance our level of programming? Do we make that a really cool career technology center for our middle and high school students? Do we go ahead and have some other public school entity utilize that space? Do we open up and have partnerships with mental health providers in our community so that our students can benefit from services in that additional building? But we have no intention of selling that building, but using it instead for our students, public school students here in Suffern Central, and potentially opening it up to the county as well. The future concept here, to look at those 2 pre-K through 2 schools and 2 grade 3 through 5 schools, would be now our population range would be anywhere between 350 and 380 students on average. 4 schools with either 5 or 6 sections per grade level. You would have full-time staff now in the school buildings. We would commit to having a full-time school counselor in each building, social worker, instructional facilitator, you can see on and on. Of course, the strings and band teacher would be specific to the grade 3 through 5 school. Again, greater for efficiencies. And the additional benefits would include large parent pools for PTAs, consistent programming with the sister school. So if you're doing something really cool in the 2nd grade, that principal and the 5 or 6 2nd grade teachers now collaborate with one other principal and 5 or 6 2nd grade teachers, not 4 other sets of individuals. There would be a really good chance that your special education program, your dual language program, and your PBL experiences would be in the home school of your child. We could have age-appropriate special events, whether you're a PTA or a principal or a group of staff members. Sometimes the assembly that you bring in for the 2nd, 3rd graders, the 4th and 5th graders are like, really? This isn't something that really means a lot to me, right? We can really specify a school program and the special events that go along with it for that age appropriateness. And then, of course, extracurricular and intramural programs that we could roll out to the grade 3 through 5 school building. We would need 2 advisors for a program, 1 for each school building. It would be a larger pool of students to pull from, and it would take place in 2 buildings, not 5. More and more potential for cool programming that we might not have right now. That's the concept. So how does this concept address some of the issues that we talked about before? So for the parent that said it's hard for my child to make new friends, now you have a lot more friends in that particular grade level. So even if you're a student who started there in pre-K or kindergarten, by the time you get to 4th and 5th grade, there may still be new combinations of classrooms that your child has never been exposed to before. The teacher who said, I only meet with my grade level colleagues a few times per year. Now you have a larger pool of people, professionals who you're working with on every single day. You can reap some of the benefits that middle school teachers have and high school teachers have, where they have a set of grade level colleagues. Going from a school with 32 4th or 5th grade students to a middle school with over 250, that transition is now eased because you have a grade level of about 125-ish students. And then when they go to a school that has 250 6th graders, they get to meet still a whole another group of friends, but it's not as overwhelming a transition. The parent who says, why is my child counselor only in the school 2 days per week? Not an issue anymore. Same thing goes for the band teacher, same thing goes for the social worker, and on and on. The other concerns, I wish my child had a pre-K in the building where they will go to kindergarten. That would be in that K through 2 school. Just because my child needs specialized services, why does she need to go to a different school? We can't guarantee that every single specialized program would be replicated in each of those 2 schools, but there would be a better chance that it would be in your child's home school. You have a 50-50 chance as opposed to a 20% chance right now. The principal says, I wish my students had extracurricular options at our school. There's much greater likelihood for that happening. And then the student who says, I wish we could have a school play. Again, 2 school plays for the 4th and 5th graders, or maybe even 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, not 5. And we can't support 5. We can't support any of them. That's why the PTAs do that right now. And then PTAs could either help support that programming or provide other types of programming. So where do we go from here? I said in the beginning that this is purely a concept that's been flushed out with our administrative team, a number of staff members, the Mountie Minds, which is that public forum of parents, community members, staff members, and students. The feedback that we're getting, along with going to each of the elementary schools and talking to staff members, has been generally positive. And it's probably positive because it's all conceptual right now, right? Because it sounds really good, but I think it's important for us as a community to think about this and what is the best interest of my child. And if the board believes that this is something that we as an administrative team should continue to investigate and look further into, we'll spend the summer looking into this. If we were to move in this direction, there's no way in the world that this would happen for this upcoming September. But there is a chance that we could make it happen for September of 2024. I personally think our students deserve it. I think that Suffern Central would really be able to create some exciting programming and ultimately make our elementary school experience not just great like it is right now, but even greater. So what I would love for all of you to do is take a snapshot of this QR code, and if you can't get it for whatever reason, again, we're going to send out most likely a compressed version of this talk to all parents and staff members tomorrow so everybody can hear what this concept looks like. Please go ahead and pop in there. What excites you about this? Is it something that I mentioned, or is it something that I'm not even thinking about and our team isn't even thinking about? And of course, also, what concerns you, right? The devil is in the details, and we're all probably thinking about, well, what do we do about this, this, and this? There's a lot to think about. Before we go ahead and invest additional time and resources and energy, we want to gauge the pulse of what everybody's thinking. And with that, that concludes my presentation. I'd like to thank the board for listening to me and giving me the opportunity to go ahead and share this with all of you. I'd like to thank the public, everybody, including the people behind me right here. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing the feedback on the thought exchange. And again, if we decide to move forward with investigating this further, I can assure all of you that there will be multiple opportunities for me or members of our administrative team to share proposed details and to solicit feedback from the community. Thank you very much.
So, excuse me. I'd like to start by thanking Dr. Gunderson for that report and all the effort that's gone into not just the presentation, but the information exchange, the conversations in the meetings with the DM group, all the data that's been poured over for the last, really for the last 6 to 8 months, and looking for a way to, like Dr. Gunderson said, enhance our district. And I know this has been sort of the elephant in the room for many, many years. But I sit here and I'm really proud to say that the direction that we are conceptually looking to go in, that has been brought to us by the superintendent, is something that should not be scary. It's something that should really be embraced for the benefit of the students of this district. I think there is tremendous opportunity with what we're looking at to make Suffern and the education here and the experience for our students even better. And I mean, I'll echo again what Dr. Gunderson said about that anxiety level, because I know it's here. I know we all have it. But what you heard tonight is really just the tip of the iceberg of how we can make this district even better. So I would turn it over to, this mic is killing me. I would turn it over to any board members who have any comments or any questions for Dr. Gunderson about the presentation and anything specific related to what was presented tonight. Does anybody have anything they wanted to contribute? You're getting off easy. Would you like to? Okay, thank you.
So one of the advantages that I see for our teaching staff is the opportunity for teachers to have their own dedicated classrooms this way. I know it's very difficult for teachers who are moving from building to building to have to take their items with them. And to have just a better use of space for everyone would improve the educational experience for the children as well. And having had two children go through the elementary schools here, I also understand when parents are concerned about having children in two different schools and two different start times and how difficult that is. Really, it is disruptive, but on the other hand, it may improve start times and end times for schools with less of having to start late, start early, try to remember what year you're on as far as when you start. And also if your child is just getting a better educational experience overall in the elementary schools, I think that will, really, I think, change people's perspectives about whether it's actually disruption or whether it's an improvement.
Anybody down here? No? No? Okay. So with that, then again, I'll just once again thank you for the presentation and the information. It's something that I really think will be, so something to really that we're going to need to focus a lot of time and dedicate a lot of time on. So with that, we'll move to board member comments. Are there any board member comments at this time? Any general board member comments? None. Okay. Public participation. This would be the opportunity for the public to speak on any district-related matters. You can please approach the podium, state your name, district affiliation.
Good evening. For anyone who does not know me, my name is Melissa Cooper, and I am an employee of Suffern Central. I am the school nurse at Montebello Elementary, and I am currently the union president for the Nurses Association. I thank the board for approving our contract tonight. Additionally, I would like to address an issue which the negotiating committee was told was not a contractual issue, but which affects every nurse in our unit and ultimately impacts substitute nurses. We recognize that the situation is the same in other districts, but we need to solve the problem with some better solutions. We've already increased the daily rate of pay, but it has not improved our situation. The strategies for coverage that we are being forced to employ, we feel are not satisfactory, nor do we feel they are safe. Our current staff includes one nurse in each of the 5 elementary schools. The middle school and the high school each have 2 nurses. There's also one nurse who covers 2 private schools. Most of our substitute nurses have other jobs and can only work if they have enough notice to request a specific day off. If an elementary school nurse wakes up sick and there's no sub available, either the private school nurse leaves her building uncovered without a nurse and covers the public school building, or a middle or high school nurse is pulled to cover, and that school is left inadequately covered with one nurse for what we feel are far too many diabetic students, gym injuries, sick students, etc. Or alternatively, we come into work sick, which we counsel others not to do. Robbing Peter to pay Paul is not the answer. This has been a major problem since our part-time float nurse position was cut very many years ago. We need to come up with a better working solution. We're willing to help brainstorm. We're just at our wits' end with this situation and need to find a solution that we feel keeps all the kids safe in all the buildings, both public and private. Thank you for taking the time to hear us, and we hope that you do not let this situation continue until there's a tragedy as a result of inadequate staffing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, board. My name is Jillian Munoz. I am the Vice President of RP Connors PTA. I am proud to stand in front of you as a representation of a few of us here. We really just wanted the opportunity to say that we feel fortunate that we are not the school that is in the position of lower enrollment. And we just are concerned that it would be like robbing Peter to pay Paul to take away from our school in an effort to give a robust experience to a child who may not be getting it. And as a mom, that hurts me to say out loud, because I do believe every child deserves a robust experience, but not at the expense of the children who already have that robust experience. We are in a very unique position at RP Connors School. Anyone who has visited our school or attends our school knows it. We have an excellent working relationship with our staff, our principal. Our PTA is what it is because there are a select few of us that really work very hard to make sure that our students have those extracurricular activities. And so I just wanted to be clear that I'm not 100% sure that that would carry over into another building. I'm one person and I work hard and I have a staff of amazing volunteers. But if I'm the one person that moves into the new building and I move into a building of people who didn't do it before, that doesn't mean you're going to get a robust PTA experience for that building. And so I think to think that way is a beautiful thought, but I just don't know if it's realistic. So I urge you to think about the realistic things that come along with making a decision like this, because I do believe that portions of the presentation are hopeful and not realistic. I heard a lot of we hope it's a higher probability, but there are no real guarantees. And so I think to shake up 5 buildings, because 2, in my opinion, are really the ones that are under-enrolled, because 1 building really can't house very much more than they already have. I think to shake up buildings who are already providing a robust experience is unfair, and it's short-sighted, because to give to, in an effort to give to kids who are not maybe getting that robust experience, and I'm not sure that this approach will even give what you're hoping for. I think that a conversation with the community at large, the elementary school community at large, is appropriate. I think that I would like to see dialogue. I know this is not the place for that, but I would like to see a dialogue between families who will be affected by this. This is a major change for a lot of families. And so I myself have a 2nd grader going into 2nd grade and going into 4th grade. So my kids theoretically would be split. And so it's different start times, and it's chaos. It's chaos for little kids. It's okay for me in the high school level, in the middle school level, to have kids starting at different times. We're a little more independent at that age. But if you're asking me to get my little ones on different schedules like that, you're really asking a little more than I think we think about sometimes. So I do want to encourage more conversations. I do want to encourage more active participation. A lot of families felt like they couldn't make it here tonight because they didn't even know this was on the agenda, because the language is reimagining. We're not 100% sure what that means. So that's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, board. My name is Tricia Beta. I'm the former mayor of the village of Suffern a few years back, but I'm also a grandmother and a mother of children who are presently in Connors School, and 2 children who I can proudly say went through all of the Suffern schools. I had a wonderful experience with the Suffern Central School District with my two older children, one who was just up here as your vice president of PTA at Connor School. They both did beautifully. And my grandchildren are now going through the schools, and I'm having the same experience. I'm fortunate enough to have them living with me, so I get to see them every day, and they come home happy and healthy. But I really want to urge you to look at a couple of different things. One, there's a lot of children out there with special needs, which is something that you talked about, and anxiety is one of them. Chaos, we all know that we love them, but they cause chaos. And with anxiety. And we do have a lot of those children in the district. After COVID, we challenged with our children going back to school. It was scary. It was a time of unknown for them. I can't even imagine if you had these large number schools with these 300 or more students in those schools, what we would have probably had to have gone through in that time. So while you're talking about creating better experiences, I hope that you will consider all the children and all of their needs. I don't feel as though moving children around, disrupting something that they've known, especially the children, in second, third, and fourth grade who have a comfort level right now, having their siblings in their schools. This is something that Suffern's always offered. This is something we've always been a family here. And, I have to say the PTA at Connor School works hard to what they accomplish. And it is the same or 8 or 10 faces I see, but you know what? They get the job done. And I'm sure in the other schools, maybe we need to give them some more resources. Maybe we need to bring more things into that school instead of spending money on building technical centers or something like that. Let's enhance those schools. Let's give them more opportunity. I think you said, we're financially stable. Let's offer those opportunities to those schools instead of uprooting our children, making things chaotic, and that's what it's going to be. These are children. These are not adults. They don't adapt as easily as we think that they do. So I just hope you'll consider all that when you start really putting pen to paper, and I really hope that you will involve the parents as much as possible at a whole, because they are advocating for the kids. Kids can't advocate for themselves. So please involve the parents. Thank you.
In the schools. I'm coming from a different point of view. I've been doing daycare and serving the kids in Suffern Central and other areas for over 30 years. Please, please, please look at the busing and look at the UPK, and if you're putting in buildings, where it's going to be, because right now there's no transportation for them. And good luck. You're going to have a lot of comments.
Hi. Not going to lie, my heart's pounding a little bit. First, I want to thank you. This discussion, as you mentioned, has been going on for years, and we've all discussed and reiterated that COVID came in and put a wrench in lots and lots of the works. One thing that COVID has done is showed us how we definitely need to focus on one Suffern. We need to focus on equality, equity, and showing that we are a committed community to all of our students, all of them. Every parent I know, every parent who has done what they can with the PTA works as hard as they can. And when we turn around and make judgments about them not working hard enough, we are conveying and we are not being empathetic towards the barriers and obstacles that every person, every family, and all of our students face. My name is Isabella Burkett Green. I have 2 students in this district. I work in this district. I grew up in this community, out for a little while. I am back. I do everything I can within my means to support this community, and everybody I know does the same. I very much support this. I very much know that the information is out there, and I know that it will get out there because nobody is saying that you're going to do this overnight. And you are being open and transparent and welcoming the discussion from the community. And that is, we cannot ever ask for anything more than that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Amon Brown. I'm on the PTA at Montebello. Sorry, I'm really nervous too. It's my first Board of Ed meeting. I felt like I need to be here. Our parents ask a lot of questions, and sometimes they come to the PTA for those questions. So I wanted to make sure I can answer whatever questions we do have. I don't know how I feel about this change. I feel like change is necessary for things to happen. My family and I have only been here for 3 years. I grew up in Rockland, but we left and came back. I have a second grader. I have a kindergartner coming in. I think the biggest thing I'm nervous about is the fact that they won't be in the same school together, but I'm okay with that. They'll be in high school together, if anything else. But I think what I worry about most, you mentioned a PTA that has 3 to 4 people that have been running it for 4 years. That's Montebello. There's been 3 of us running it for 4 years. And the biggest problem that we have is we have this huge influx of families that are new, that don't speak English, and trying to get them in. And we've been working really hard to do it, and I think we're getting better each year. So I hope that when you do this, you find a way to connect with those families properly, and because I feel like a lot of them also feel like the school does everything, and a lot of times it is the PTAs doing the extra legwork and the extra work outside. Oh my God, sorry, my heart's beating so fast. I think everyone's just a little worked up, that's all. So the support for the PTAs, I hope that that's something that you can provide, because that is something that a lot of our schools do need. Most of them need it compared to not. But that's my thing. We have families that aren't here, that should be here, that most likely don't understand what's happening. So to get the communication out for them. And I know this wasn't on the topic, but we are a school, I feel that paper communication works best for us. And that's something we're kind of going away from. If that can be something that can be brought back, I know this with our fundraisers. We have raised very little money over these last 3 years that I've been here, but we've been still able to provide our students with whatever we can. But the best way for us to do that is to provide them with paper communication. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Lauren. I have an 8, 6, and 2-year-old. I just wanted to thank Dr. Gunderson for providing the information. It's, as human beings, I think change is very difficult. I'm an administrator for vision and what you hope to do for the district. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Gunderson.
Thank you.
What I have to say is just a contribution to some of the thoughts that have already been expressed. The first is just, this is an opportunity for change. We don't know what the future has in store for us, but at the very minimum, I would expect that it's not an open door for disparaging anyone in our community. That is uncalled for. And I just feel like that was the overwhelming sentiment that echoed across the room with all the heartbeats and surprised faces. So I think we need to take the temperature down just a tiny bit and be respectful of one another, find a way to unify and move forward as one Suffern. Also, just as my 1 year as PTA president for Sloatsburg, I have noticed that there are new members of the community who require different opportunities to allow for them to participate in our schools, right? In the fundraising efforts, in a lot of the events that we hold. Some parents are really working from like 6 to 6, okay? And they don't have the luxury of being available during the day like myself and some of my colleagues have, And so I've done the work. I've reached out to every single parent that I could by text, in events, showing up to different things and explaining to them, sometimes even in Spanish, that, even if you take this little thing home, you can do this activity and bring it to school, send it in with your kid, and that's helpful. There are so many different ways that we have seen an expansion even in the Sloatsburg Elementary PTA. So it's not for lack of want, it's not for lack of capability, it's just that we as people need to be more flexible and more open-minded. That's all I have to do.
About 8 years. My kids just started going to school 2 years ago. They love it. A lot of these problems just sound like personal gripes to me. A teacher who has to bounce back and forth 3 times a day. I work 24 hours. I worked 12 today. No, excuse me, 16 today. That's straight through. Not one complaint. I'm here for the money. And to do my job. No complaints. I didn't make not one complaint today. Yet you're gonna tell me about a school that has a few students in it and one teacher has to bounce back and forth between another school. So let's come up with a different program. Let's augment everyone else's life. I disagree. I think the teachers who are hired, you're paid for 6 hours a day. If you gotta go to 6 different schools, so what? I don't care about your gas money. You got hired for the job based on terms and conditions, correct? Exactly why I do my job. No complaints, and I love my job. I'll never ever complain, because I don't think you should, and I think this plan is foul. I think you should come up with a different solution other than augmenting everyone's life. Putting them in stress. Everyone's stressed about this. Shit, even I'm stressed coming up to the podium. I'm not stressed about a lot. 2-time combat action Marine, I don't care about a lot. This I care about. I think you guys need to come up with a different solution. I appreciate your time and your thought process, but I think you need to think a little bit better. All right? Okay.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone. My name is Roxanne Bryan, and I am a Viola parent. I have a child in 1st grade, and my son will be in 4th. Personally, I am a lover of change. I like change. I have not experienced bad change in my life, per se, so I accept and I'm willing to work with change. As a Viola parent, who is new to the district, I've been here since the end of 2018. Very welcoming to my kids, the principal, the teachers, the staff. As much as I love change, I foresee the fear as a parent for that Viola family to be disrupted where my kids are concerned. It is not that I'm opposed to the plan, but my son is different from my daughter. My daughter is very extroverted and my son is not. So once you've created this environment where everybody knows your name when you walk through the door, it's like everyone knows you, to now go in an environment where, you know, your classmates are all different. It's a whole new experience. I think that the kids, more than the parents, need to be prepped for this change, is the point I'm getting at. And as much as we parents are prepared for the change, I don't know how within your planning you can prepare these kids who come from smaller schools to be in huge classrooms with brand new faces, and not every child may welcome this change as is planned. Secondly, I'm here as standing in front of you as the co-president for Viola PTA, and I appreciate the fact that for a year in advance of this planning, the the marketing strategy, unbeknownst to many of us, was one Suffern. And I could see it now, right? I can see the subtle chant that was building up towards this one Suffern mentality. And as Isabella expressed, many of us who come from smaller schools, prior to me joining the PTA of Viola, we've had 4 persons bounce around from president to vice president to treasurer to secretary. President, vice president, treasurer to secretary. And for the involvement by parents, involvement by parents, involvement by parents. And we have worked really hard in reestablishing old programs, building new programs, bringing in new, what is it called, Isabella? The thing in the school? Cultural programs, we have brought in different ones. I think that for many of the parents looking and viewing this online and in person, we cannot do this without you. Big credit goes to the parents of RP Connor. They should not be discredited in their achievements as a school. The body of RP Connor and their parents and their PTA is robust. I mean, me coming into the PTA position, I knew of the reputation of the RP Connor families because they are not like the other schools. However, because we are smaller, because we have less resources, I think parents need to be more involved. One of the things you can be involved in as well is PTA council. You know, there are, as parents, we sit back and let things happen. And the PTA is one of the resources that you have as parents to be involved in the daily lives of your child, as well as the resources being provided to them before and after school. So I just wanted to give my 2 cents where I'm concerned as both parent and PTA. And let's strive to see how we can flesh this out for the better interest of the kids. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I apologize if my voice is shaky. I'm a little nervous. But my name is Brooke Rosenblum. I am a substitute teacher for the district, and I went to Viola, I went to Suffern Middle School, and I graduated Suffern High School in 2017. I have been subbing for the district since 2019, I want to say. I started subbing for monitors and paraprofessionals, and I now sub for our lovely teachers. I spend a lot of time at Montebello Elementary. I would say I've dedicated many hours there over the past 2 years, and I took a short break while I went to student teach in a neighboring district. This neighboring district does have buildings that are, I want to say K-3, and then 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8. It's phenomenal there. I was amazed at the programming they had, the resources they had. The class sizes were about 20 kids were in my student teaching class, with 2 that pushed in from a special education classroom. Students' needs were met, and my kids got to go do Play-Doh, like a Play-Doh group, like that allowed them to be creative after school. There was Lego groups that they were allowed to do before school, kickball teams, a kickball league. I understand the worries because I was in Viola. I was in those small classes. I was a Viola raccoon. I was a proud of that community. And I'm not a parent by any means. I understand the worries, but I think if you take the time to research and look at our neighboring districts and see the benefits of this, you will truly be amazed by it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm back. Can I just add one thing? Montebello has the YMCA program, which makes it very difficult for us to do anything after school. So if you do this, can we maybe move them to the other additional buildings so we can have our after school back? That is all. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Like everybody else, I'm a little nervous, shaky, on edge. I tend to just say what I need to say, so if it comes out a little, sorry. But thank you for listening tonight. I know it's very late, and I appreciate you all being here. I know you all work very hard, the parents as well. I know a lot of you work very hard. My name is Therese Dalala. I have 4 children. 2 are in the school right now. 2 will be entering in the next 2 years. So I'm at the heart of this. I have 2 in elementary and 2 that will be going into elementary. I'm an RP Connor parent. I want to start by saying that RP Connor has a fantastic PTA. We really do. And I help as much as I can. But here's the thing is RP Connor, the PTA works very hard, but right now we had to cancel our carnival because we don't have enough help for this weekend. So as much as a lot of the schools think that RP Connor has so much help and so much parent involvement, we too have the same 4, 5, 6 people doing everything for every event. And I believe in one Suffern. I think that you're onto something here. I believe we all need to be on the same page. I would never exclude any school, any child, any teacher. Those of you who know me, I'll give you the shirt off my back. I'll feed any kid in the neighborhood. It's just my way. My concern is this. I bought my house in Suffern in the RP Connor School District for a reason. I researched the school before I came here, my husband and I have a severe anxiety disorder. That's what makes it hard for me to speak tonight too. But it's important that you understand, I researched this school before we came, before we moved, before we bought our house. I know the teachers, I know the lunch aides, I know the security guard, I know the nurse, I know the people who work the after-school programs. I know 90% of the kids and their parents because I make it my business to know them. And I make it a point to make sure that I know my kids are safe every single day. Now, I'm not saying they won't be safe if they go to a different elementary school. They will be, God willing. But my issue is that now you're going to take, potentially, my children and move them to a different school where they know nobody. What's concerning is that you're not so worried about the children that you'll be moving as you're worried about the children who are not getting everything that all the other children are getting. But what about the children right now that are happy, that are at Connor or at Viola, like the other PTA mom had said? They're happy where they are, they feel safe where they are. And if you disrupt them, we could end up causing more emotional issues, more who maybe don't have these issues right now. I know my daughter has anxiety and she had trouble making friends this year. And right now she has her 2 best friends and it is amazing. And if you take my daughter and move her to a school and 2 of her other best friends go to a different school, that's a problem for me. Now, the gripe that you had with the teacher that has to travel, now you have that gripe with me because now my daughter's mental and emotional stability is at stake. And my emotional and mental stability is at stake because now I have to worry about my children being in different locations. I also have to worry about the busing issue. I have 2 3-year-olds right now. By the time they enter, there's a chance that they could be bused to Sloatsburg or to Cherry Lane or to Viola or Montebello. You want to put essentially these babies on a bus that they could be on this bus for 40 minutes when my school is 2 blocks down the street. So I understand you need to do something. I understand some elementary schools have 12 kids coming in next year and some have 60 coming in. I see the discrepancy and I get it. And wherever I'm moved as a parent, I will support that PTA. I will do anything I can to help that school. But I want to know that my kids are being taken into consideration as well. Just because we don't have special needs or a language barrier or whatever needs there are, just because our needs are met right now, if you move my kids, that doesn't mean their needs are now met. So I want to be a voice for all the kids right now that are happy and healthy, that made it through COVID and are good where they are and are thriving. You have to remember, if you disrupt that, you could have a lot more kids with a lot more emotional problems and stability issues than what we have right now. So I just urge you to please think about each individual kid, not just the ones that need more of a robust experience. I don't know, I guess that's pretty much all I have to say, but just please keep in consideration all of the children. Thank you.
Hi, Jessica Falange, Viola School. More of a process question. Let's say we decide to move forward with this. Is it something that we would get to vote on?
I'm sorry.
So let's say
Yeah.
collectively we decide, the board decides that this is something that we want to move forward with. Is it something that is brought to a vote, or is it something that's just decided that we're going to do and we do it?
We'll address that during superintendent, during the closing comments after this.
Okay.
After public.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ezra. My wife is saying, "Oh Lord," as I get to speak. So she mentioned that we have 2 kids in Viola, and I, as you were doing the presentation, I was just jotting down more questions. Might not be answered now, so just bear with me as I read them through. But what I'm hoping for you to do is to be transparent in how you make your decisions, right? I sit on the board myself in the district, and what was brought so far seems to be a proposition without being vetted that it will be an improvement. Right now it's a consideration. For me, it becomes, how do you know it's going to be you could present to the community to say, here is what someone else did, here's how it was tracked, improve or not successful. That would be helpful to help manage the anxiety that comes with change. For me, being new, I don't know what intermediate solutions that you studied to help not come to this change. If there's something that you did prior, maybe a refresher of what you studied to do to be able to mitigate the problems that you're facing that could be shown. Was there a comparison of the non-public schools enrollment? How do we know that our public school enrollments are not the same as the non-public school enrollments? How do we know that they're not declines and so forth? Did you do studies to show that? I think you mentioned that you were using an external company to help with data. What percentage of the community did they reach out to? What percentile are you using this position on? 10%, 75%? What is it? And when will you make your final decision, right? Is there a clock on that? Just asked if, I guess the community would be able to vote on that. I'm assuming the board will have the final decision, but is there a clock on when you make your final decision? So that we can, I guess, get more comfortable with it. Beyond just the 8 to 3 for the students, you gotta think the after school, the preschool. We too chose our neighborhood based on what we saw. So having our kids go to 2 different age groups, go to 2 different schools. The PTA at Viola came up with a lot of after school programs. I want my kids to be able to continue with these things. My son is at one school, my daughter's at another school. How are we, the parents, managing anything that we want to have budget for that too as well, to help support parents who rely on those opportunities? Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joyce Donahue. I'm from Sloatsburg. So I want to say, I came in here and I wasn't sure, I'm not sure how I feel, but I appreciate the conversation. And I think that's what's really important. We urged our community to come out and listen so that way we could hear it. Sloatsburg is very tight. Sloatsburg is surrounded, we surround that school. So changing things for us is a big thing and hard. But I do appreciate your notes about the opportunities and the increased things. My son is in 4th grade, so he would not be impacted. But as part of the PTA, which I'm very proud to be part of, and I've been part of for 5 years and worked very hard, I want to represent everybody that is from Sloatsburg and be able to help them be informed and make decisions. So I pretty much want to say thank you for opening up the discussion, and I look forward to seeing how it progresses.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Laura Sullivan. I'm actually a Suffern graduate. I'm here because you mentioned student support services. I am a mother of a student with special needs and an IEP that currently attends the Montebello Therapeutic Support Program. We've been happy with this. My question to you is just...
Hi, good evening, Jan. Just spoke earlier this evening. My children went to Viola, Suffern Middle School, and the high school. I am an employee of the district. I am also on the Montebello PTA board. As everyone else has said, my heart is racing because I wasn't prepared to speak, but I just feel compelled to speak. We are one Suffern, and for the mentality to be not our school, or it shouldn't be our school, potentially changing or closing, that is not what One Suffern is about. The fact of the matter is that our enrollment has been going down for a long time, for a very long time. My daughter started kindergarten at Viola in 2001. I have watched enrollment drop. Something needs to be done. Something absolutely needs to be done. If you do your research and go home and go on the internet and look at other school districts who have the same program that potentially we will have here, it is an extremely successful program. And you need to read up on it and learn about it. Nobody likes change. I understand. I don't like change. My family will tell you I don't like change. But we are in a position where something needs to be done. And for anyone to delude themselves into thinking that we can keep schools that have 200 students while other schools have 400 students, it is very, very unrealistic. And I understand about children being anxious with anxiety and change. They don't do well with change. I understand all of that. But to think that the school district wouldn't prepare our students for these changes, should they happen, is unrealistic. They have never let us down before. And they will do whatever they have to do to make sure that our children are comfortable with any changes that might be made. We need to remember the One Suffern mentality and not get away with this every person for themselves or every school for themselves, because that is not the path of One Suffern. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Sarah. I belong to the Montebello PTA. I have 5 kids in every school, high school, middle school, elementary school. And just one thing, I'm just glad we're discussing school moving or not, instead of other things that other schools, tragedies they have, discussed. I'm just glad this is what we're discussing. I understand change. People have mentioned that change is either, scary. Talk about change moving from a different country when you're 10 years old, coming in when the change from elementary to middle school is being changed when you add 6th grade onto middle school. That was a change when I went through, not speaking full English. That was like, but it's a change that was good. It's a change that I know it's 6, 7, and 8, but it's been going for many years, and I think it was a good change. Now we're talking about a different change. Of course, everybody's scared of change, but we all change. We move homes. Sometimes we jobless. It was of 18 years. It was a big, scary change for us as a family, but we made it through, and now we're seeing a good thing about it. I have kids, and I also have IEPs, special educations, And we have moved schools because the district, I don't know, was not, during those years, it was not available for my kid here. So we had to move to Orangetown. So my kid had bus, and we had to find busing for my kid to go from, elementary school to another county, Orangetown. So yeah, it was a scary thought just having my kid going the throughway every morning. And that's all I think. My kids being safe at school, which I'm grateful and thankfully they are. I think at the end of the day, it's for the kids. Of course, we all have to travel. We all have to move once a day or twice a day. But at the end of the day, we're here for our kids' education and their safety. And their mental health is also very, very important. It is. All my kids had therapy. During COVID, we lost grandma. It was a devastating thing for my kids. So their mental health and everything, I got so much support from the schools. To that, I am very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Meg King. I actually am part of the RP Connor School. Oh, very nervous. First of all, thank you for having this open forum, and I appreciate everyone who has spoken that I was able to hear. As a mom of 5 also, my oldest having just started middle school this year, I guess my biggest concern is what does their future look like in the mornings, in the afternoons? Because they'll potentially be in 4 different schools. And then I guess my other question would be, because when we moved here, we came from Catholic education, my whole rearing, and then we came up here from very hard for me to now know my kids would not be together from K through 8th. And we looked at different districts, and part of the reason why we chose Suffern is because of how it was broken up, a K through 5, 6 through 8, and then high school. So that was a big deciding factor. We're also an NYPD family, so being part of the village, we appreciated that. And I know all the other schools have, their police officers within the building, but my kids thought that Chief Osborne, like you could walk into any chief's office and be able to talk to him, and that was part of what happened at RP Connor. And I can only speak about Connor and not the other elementaries. So my big concern is just big picture for just families overall and what that might look like for bigger families. So I thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Super quick, I promise. Okay, very fast. I just wanted to make sure that we are all cognizant of the idea that this discussion, or this exploration, is not an indication that other children at other schools are not happy or safe. My children are very happy and very safe. Like someone said earlier, our community is super tight. And honestly, we did research our community as well prior to moving there, as did a lot of other parents in my neighborhood and in other neighborhoods. My kids are fortunate enough to be playing sports, a variety of them. So we've met other parents from other schools, and we all feel the same way. We love Suffern in general. We love our little individual areas for reasons that, fit our families. So there's that piece. Also, children with special needs are not just in specific places. They're everywhere. That's all. Thanks.
At the end of the line. Is there anybody else who would like an opportunity to speak? Okay. Well, I will thank everybody that spoke and voiced their opinions. I know this is not, and we all know this is not something to take lightly. It's not something that, doesn't bring out anxiety and doesn't make people nervous. So to everybody that did get up and spoke, and to those who spoke twice, your opinions, and rest assured that no matter what your personal view is, that this board and this administration do take all parent concerns seriously. Thank you. Closing superintendent comments?
Comments relatively brief. There were a handful of questions that were posed. I wrote them down. I'm sure that if we decide to move forward in investigating this concept further, that we'll be developing an FAQ page. But let me back up for a moment. The purpose in speaking here tonight was to be that first glimpse of a concept. Again, pockets of folks have been involved in the development of the concept. We've worked with a handful of folks from the community, from the schools, and even with a couple of students as well to talk about this concept. But the feedback opportunity from the community was wide. The DM group sent that survey out to everyone, and anybody who wanted to provide commentary could provide commentary. So the initiative for moving forward with the development of a concept is that very clear message that I've received from folks, whether it's verbally or through the surveys, that we need to continue to strive for excellence here in Suffern. It's a great place to have kids be. We want it to continue to be great, hopefully even better. So whether this concept ends up being that solution or whether it's something a little bit different or we end up going with the status quo, the purpose in my presentation tonight to the board, an opportunity to listen to what this concept is, let them think about it a little bit, and then get back to all of us about whether or not this board wants the administrative team to delve further, to come up with some potential answers to some of the many questions that were here, because we haven't worked out the details, because that would be silly. That wouldn't be smart to do. And so I think if there's one thing that folks can't criticize in this meeting is that the district isn't being transparent. All the commentary. Those who are open-minded to it but nervous, I get it. This is going to be uncomfortable if we move forward for a lot of people, myself included. But progress requires all of us becoming a little bit uncomfortable and stretching forward and taking calculated risks when ultimately we believe that the reason why we're taking those calculated risks is to benefit our children, all of our children here in the One Suffern community. So I want to thank everybody for speaking this evening. You will, if we continue to move forward with this, there will be feedback loops. I envision having community forums where folks can sit down and chat with me, members of our administrative team. There will be further development, more opportunities for feedback, and you'll be hearing from us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Got it. Okay, thank you. So then we've reached the end of our board meeting for tonight. I will say that our next meeting will be June 20th, 2 weeks from today. It will be in Hilburn. It will be our last meeting of the school year. Not that that means anything other than probably a short meeting, hopefully. And we hope to see you all there. On that note, do I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Shapiro, second. Ms. Dickman. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you all very much. This meeting is adjourned. We will see you in 2 weeks.